Hello, this is the Radio Geek, and today I'm here to tell you a little bit about the little AM FM pocket radio that I reviewed a little while ago, and I said in the video that I would get into the inside of it and see what it's all about. So this is I guess the Kaimeda Model SR-201 little AM FM pocket radio. As you can see here, it's a pretty nice looking little radio. To get into it, you have to turn it over and take out the batteries and remove the battery door. There's a couple of screws in the battery door that you have to remove. Then you kind of pry up on it from the bottom and lift up. It's really tight in there, and it's got like little locking tabs with the plastic all the way around it, and you just pop those open. And then when you get it open, this is what the radio looks like, kind of half opened here with the circuit board on one side and the radio portions on the other side there. Now these newer radios have these, radios on a chip, basically, and I have found that they perform rather well. And one of the reasons these things are really taking off is they're really low cost. The bill of material, the supporting components for these radio chips is pretty minimal. It doesn't cost a lot to produce one of these, and you don't need a lot of extra parts. And the parts that you have to provide are inexpensive, and there's no real technical people that you'd have to make sure that everything is tuned up. There's no adjustments or anything that need to be made, so you're pretty safe in just building up the circuit with these chips. So they're becoming quite popular, and it's what's driving these really low-cost radios. So it's really easy for them to manufacture these in China. Okay, now that we have the radio open, we'll take a look at what some of the soldering qualities look like. And as you can see, some of the soldering here is probably been touched up by hand, and others has just been reflowed in their solder ovens, I'm sure. But you can see that there's just really poor soldering, which is kind of what you would expect for something in this kind of price range. Here another picture here shows something I found was pretty interesting. The circuit board itself is just a single-sided circuit board, meaning that there are only traces on one side of the circuit board. The other side of the circuit board doesn't have any copper on it at all, so it's a single-sided board. But I noticed that there's like no plating on any of the pads where the components are placed and soldered, which was really unusual. But that's another cost-saving step, that they don't plate those, and so it's cheaper to produce. It's already single-sided, which is cheaper. So it's really bare minimum, low-cost type of an assembly. And here's another photo. You can see in these two photos I've shown you what the no plating looks like. Now for the main heart of this radio is yet again another radio chip. This radio chip is the KTO936M, and it's made by a Chinese company called KTMicro. Now I was able to find their site. Everything is in Chinese, so I had to use a translator to translate it, but there are no data sheets for any of their chips. They're just descriptions of what these chips can do, but no data sheets for them that I could find. It seems as if this KTMicro company is a design house for circuits for chips, but they don't actually make the chips. They hire an outside fab house to do that for them. But I couldn't find any data sheets for it, so I don't really have any super real information on there about it, other than some of the things that were into the description. And what's interesting about the KT0936M radio chip is it supports FM, AM, and shortwave. The FM range is supposed to be from 32 megahertz to 110 megahertz. The AM is supposed to cover from 500 kilohertz to 1750 kilohertz, and the shortwave is supposed to cover from 1.75 megahertz to 32 megahertz. So in theory, this radio could be a shortwave radio. Now that would probably require a different antenna and a different value for the tuning capacitor, and maybe some other programming tweaks or resistor values changed to get it to do that. But I thought it was interesting that it was capable of doing shortwave. So what I suspect is, companies, as they buy parts, the more they buy, the cheaper the price is. So perhaps this company that's making this radio also makes shortwave radios. So they figured, well, we can still use the same chip and make an AM/FM radio, so we'll just be buying more of these shortwave capable chips, but maybe we'll get a better price that way than buying two separate chips, one that just does AM and FM and one that does AM, FM, and shortwave. Or it could be that's what's available, that's what's in abundance, and that's the cheapest in the market, and that's what we're going to buy. It's really hard to say what the thinking behind that was, but nonetheless, thought that was really interesting that this chip can cover the shortwave band as well. Now the other chip is the audio chip, and that's the 8002A audio chip, and that one coincidentally was the same audio chip that was used in the Dream Sky radio that I had reviewed earlier. So, and that seems to be just an audio amplifier type IC. Nothing really special or unique about it, but just happens that they use the same brand of chip. So as you can see, this radio has really good reception. It really does perform well on both AM and FM, and the price is just phenomenal. And as you can see by these photos and the amount of parts that are involved in making this, it really is a minimal amount of parts. I think they did a really good job on the plastic and the case and how it fits together. I really like it as far as cosmetically more than I do the little Mia. I think it's pretty close to the performance of the Mia, maybe not quite as good, but it could just be on the particular nights that I tried scanning up and down the band. But all in all, I'd say this radio is pretty well put together for the $5 price. So if you're interested and you want one, I'd get on eBay and order one. It does take a while. It takes 6 or so weeks to get to here in the States anyway, so a little bit of a wait. But I haven't seen any more of the NIA radios on eBay, so I don't know if they've run out or they might reappear later. But this is, I guess, second best, I guess, if you're looking for something like that to play with. So anyway, that's what's inside, and that's what I found out. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll catch you next time. This is the Radio Geek.